Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are going to unpack something called market basket analysis. Now, I know that sounds a bit technical, but it's this really cool data mining technique that finds surprising connections in, well, everything, from your shopping cart to some really complex business problems. The whole idea is to turn a mountain of raw data into these hidden rules, and we're going to show you exactly how it all works. All right, so here's the plan. We'll kick things off with a surprising puzzle. Then we'll uncover the hidden rules behind it, check out its awesome applications, and wrap up with how you can start finding these connections in your own data. Let's get into it. Okay, to really get why this stuff is so fascinating, let's just start with a simple question. One that kind of challenges what we think we know. I mean, it seems pretty unlikely, right? You'd think that someone who's all about healthy options would, probably skip the sugary stuff. But what if the data from literally thousands of shopping trips tells a completely different and kind of weird story? So check this out. In a sample of 10,000 transactions, the data dug up these two interesting pairs. On the one hand, you've got soda and orange juice. Okay, that seems plausible enough. But then you have fat-free cream and donuts. What? That's a total head-scratcher, right? One item is screaming, "I'm being healthy," and the other is, well, it's a donut. This is exactly the kind of puzzle that market basket analysis was made to solve. And this is where market basket analysis, or MBA for short, comes into play. You could almost think of it like a data detective. Its whole job is to find the hidden logic behind these patterns that just don't seem to make any sense. So let's get a proper definition. So at its heart, MBA is all about finding relationships you just wouldn't expect. The non-obvious stuff. It actually got its start in supermarkets, trying to figure out what items people bought together. Literally, what's in the same shopping basket. But its goal is so much bigger now. It's about taking these huge data sets and boiling them down to simple, insightful if-then rules that you can actually do something with. So, how does this data detective actually do its thing? How does the magic work? Well, it's not just guesswork, that's for sure. It uses three key tools or metrics to figure out how strong, how frequent, and how reliable these hidden rules are. Let's break them down. Okay, first up is a metric called lift. And honestly, this is the most important place to start. Think of it like a reality check. It basically asks, are these two items showing up together more often than they would by just pure random chance? If the lift is greater than 1, you've got a real positive connection. If it's less than 1, it means the items actually seem to avoid each other. It's that simple. And this chart just shows the power of lift perfectly. Look at that. The connection between soda and orange juice has a lift of over 18. That is huge. It means they're bought together more than 18 times more often than you'd expect from random chance alone. That's a super strong link. But then, look at the fat-free cream and donuts. The lift is only 0.4. Since that's less than 1, it tells us they're negatively related. So people who buy one are actually less likely to buy the other. The mystery starts to unravel. All right, next up is support. This one's way simpler. It just tells us how often the pair of items shows up together in all the transactions. So what percentage of all shopping baskets have both of these things in them? It just gives us a sense of how common this pairing is. But here's the twist. Even with that super strong connection we saw with Lyft, the support for soda and juice is actually really low. Only 0.3% of all baskets have both. But, and this is important, a low number here doesn't mean the rule is useless. Not at all. In fact, it can point to a hidden opportunity. If you know a pairing is really powerful but doesn't happen very often, you can do something about it, right? Maybe you bundle those items together to make it happen more. And finally, we've got confidence. This is where things get super practical. Like, this is the strategic part. What makes it different is that confidence has a direction. It helps us understand the flow of the purchase. It answers the question, okay, if I know for a fact a customer bought item A, what's the probability they also bought item B? And just look at this difference. It's incredible. The confidence that someone buying soda will also buy orange juice is a massive 91%. But flip it around, the chance someone buying orange juice will also buy soda is only 6%. That is a huge gap. So the really crucial takeaway here is that this gives us a hint about what's causing what. It suggests buying soda is a powerful trigger for buying orange juice, but not the other way around. Now that is a kind of insight a business can really run with. So you take these three metrics together, lift, support, and confidence, and they give market basket analysis some really unique advantages over other methods.
We kind of like to think of them as superpowers for any researcher or analyst who's just trying to make sense of a whole lot of data.
Okay, superpower number one. It lets you build theories from scratch. So instead of the usual way, where you start with a guess, a hypothesis, and then test it, MVA flips that script. You start with the data and you let the data itself point you toward brand new ideas. It's all about discovery, not just confirming what you already think. And as this quote from the Journal of Management points out, this is actually a huge deal in the world of research. Instead of that classic, I think X causes Y approach, you're letting the data guide you to new hypotheses that, honestly, you might never have even dreamed up on your own. Superpower number two, it's amazing at taming messy data. You know, the kind of real-world data that trips up a lot of other statistical methods. We're talking about data that isn't perfect, especially stuff that has missing information or empty spots. And this is such a cool feature. See, in most analyses, a missing piece of data is just an error that you have to fix or ignore. But with MBA, a missing item can actually mean something. It can be seen as a choice. Think about it. A customer who looked at the dessert menu and then actively decided not to buy anything, that's information. You can learn just as much from what isn't in the basket as what is. And the list of advantages just keeps going. MBA is super flexible, it doesn't need perfect data, it can handle really complex what-if questions, and maybe best of all, the results are really intuitive. They're presented as simple probabilities, so you don't have to be a stats wizard to understand what it's telling you. So with all these superpowers, it's really no surprise that market basket analysis has moved way, way beyond the supermarket aisle. It's now being used to solve some really critical problems in tons of different fields.
I mean, the range of uses here is just staggering. We're talking about bioinformatics, finding links between proteins and disease, geophysics, figuring out what conditions predict that a cyclone is about to get really dangerous, even in surgery, determining which antibiotics work best to prevent infections. This is a tool that helps experts find patterns that can quite literally save lives.
And for anyone out there thinking, hey, I could use this, the process is actually pretty straightforward. It's a clear 6-step journey. You start by figuring out what your basket is. Is it a literal shopping cart, or maybe a set of patient symptoms? Then you gather your data, run the analysis, and use our 3 friends, lift, support, and confidence, to turn those hidden rules into a real-world strategy. So let's bring it all home. What's the big picture takeaway? Well, we live in an age of big data, right? Companies and organizations are collecting more information than they know what to do with. And in that world, MBA really stands out. It's an accessible but incredibly powerful tool for anyone who wants to find those hidden patterns. Because at the end of the day, the real power here isn't just in the fancy metrics or the software. It's a whole new way of thinking. It trains your brain to look for those surprising, counterintuitive connections that are all around us, often just hiding in plain sight in the data, waiting for someone to find them. So the real question is, what hidden rules are waiting for you to discover?